In this video, I'm gonna show you exactly how to outplay a low-rated opponent step by step, what kind of challenges you get, how to face it, and how to put so much pressure on your opponent that he cannot handle it. What's up, chess player, and welcome to the Journey to Grandmaster, the place where you can improve every aspect of your chess game. Today, I'm gonna play this game against, well, roughly 1800 rated player. I'm playing as white, and let's see how we can outplay such a player. Of course, he's still very strong, pretty advanced, and I'm sure he's gonna play very solid. I see that already by the first two moves, d5 and d6. Yes, c6. Same as Slav, one of the most solid openings in chess. Let's see if we can deal with it. So, well, the first step to play a great game of chess is to develop all of your pieces in the opening without really blundering any of them in the process, and of course fighting for the center. So my opponent grabs the pawn here on c4 immediately. If I'm not careful enough, he's gonna support it with a b5 move, and then I'm not really gonna get it back. So I really love to play here a4, so that b5 is not really that possible. Yes, it allows some bishop b4 ideas, which you should really be playing. Bishop d7, that's not really how you typically play it. At least I never saw such a move. But it has an idea, very simple idea, just to play b5, and then the pawn is going to be protected. Because if you play a6 with the same idea, it doesn't help at all, because I'm gonna have this pin at the end of the day. Here, there is no pin. And I am thinking about the move a5, but then there is bishop b4, attacking the pawn, pinning the knight. Maybe I have queen a4. Yeah, but he has c5, yeah. Already from move 5, some crazy variations starting to appear here. Apparently, that is due to my lack of knowledge, because I really never saw this move. And my opponent is 1800 rated player. He has a novelty here, at least for me. So that's great. Let me see if I can handle it. So there is knight e5, quite a typical idea, attacking the pawn and attacking the bishop. And if he plays b5, maybe I can take it. He has take with the queen. I'm gonna take it back. I'm not gonna take on b5, but the pawn is still protected on b5. How do I win it? I'm not really sure about that. Yeah, he's really puzzling me. Because I'm sure before bishop d7, that is a completely normal position. They play bishop e4, then I play e3, they play b5, and the whole variation begins. But what do I do here? Maybe I still play knight e5, b5, and then something normal like e3, because I'm gonna have some queen f3 ideas, attacking the queen there and the f7 pawn. But he has a tempo. He might protect something like knight f6, then it's still not simple to protect the rook. Okay, let me try to go for it. Because 95 seems like the most active move. Like, if your opponent is playing a move that you are not aware of, and you should have, then it means it's not the mainline theory, and there should be some kind of a refutation. And then your task is to try to find it. Hopefully, I am on the right way. I'm not sure whether I should take or not, because of course, I have to be aware of the move b4. But if I play e3 and he plays b4, I can just step away with knight e4, and then this pawn is attacked twice, so b4 is not really a problem for me. So in that case, I'm gonna start with e3, and now I'm threatening to take here. He takes back, and then I have queen f3 attacking the f7 pawn with a checkmate and attacking the rook there. It's actually allowed me to do that. I'm a little bit confused. So he can take here. I take it just back, but he has to take back, right? Otherwise, c4 is hanging, and then queen f3. Yeah, I don't see it. Let me just take it. Takes it back. Okay. Now I'm really puzzled. Why queen f3 is not winning the game immediately? Can it be that he just blundered it completely? I mean, he's playing so fast. He's like 15 minutes, 45 seconds, not even thinking about the moves. Like, he's just executing the computer moves. That is normally what I think about it, but I don't even see how you deal with the threat to win the rook after queen f3, because knight a6 is not a move, the rook is controlling it. Knight c6 is not, knight c6 is not a move because I have too many attackers. Otherwise, there is no way to defend the rook. Not even mentioning the fact that checkmate in 1 is another threat. So queen f3 is definitely a move that I want to make here. Please remember this trick with queen f3 with a double threat. You have it in so many openings, so many pawn structure, especially when they go all in with this pawn win with b5, defending the c4 pawn, and then the diagonal is completely free. And I have no idea how he's supposed. Maybe the idea is to catch my queen somehow on a8. That might be normally the plan, because the queen on a8 is kind of trapped. But I don't see how it might be the case, because I'm gonna also attack the a7 pawn twice, all of my pieces, and he also needs to cover the diagonal. I don't see how it's possible to do both. I'm also attacking the bishop, and yeah, wants just to exchange as much stuff as possible. So my guess is he wasn't just calculating his opponent's ideas, in this case my ideas, and that is the number one mistake so many lower-rated players are making, not really paying enough attention to your opponent's threats. Plays f6. Well, that is, yeah, kind of a solution, because I'm gonna be not an entire rook up, but just an exchange. I mean, that is still bad for him, but at least he maybe continued the game. I also have queen h5 check. Remember, always start with a 4 steps system formula to find the best move in every possible position, which is checks, captures, threats, and active moves. And of course, I'm starting with queen h5, because if you miss a very, very huge check opportunity, then you missed the best move, and that would be a pity. For example, if there wouldn't be a move g6, then of course queen h5 would be the best, because king e7, queen f7, d6. I mean, that is too much to handle probably. Although I don't see a direct win there as well. And if he plays g6, I have knight g6, this classical idea, and then once again I win an exchange, and also a pawn in the process. But the more I think about it, it really makes sense to play king e7, because if I do give this check, king goes to g6, I don't have any follow-up checks, and yeah, what do? The knight is still hanging. I can take here, of course. That's great, by the way, because I'm attacking the rook, and I'm threatening knight f7, great fork, winning the queen. That feels like a good option, but he can just take the knight, right? And then I'm taking here with a check first, the king goes somewhere, then I'm taking the rook, once again winning the pawn and the exchange. On the other way, I have queen takes a8, he takes here, I can just take it back, or maybe take on a7. Yeah, this option I like less, because he's gonna have some bishop c6 ideas. I don't know, I really like the move queen h5, because not only I'm putting a lot of pressure on his pieces and win some material, I also make it very uncomfortable for his king in that process. Okay, he goes for g6, but now I'm just taking it. Very classical pattern in terms of tactics, so please remember it if you haven't seen it yet. He's still playing incredibly fast. I mean, I don't understand this approach. Like, you are much lower rated than your opponent. You have a chance to play a great game against him. You have 15 minutes on the clock. I mean, you played the rabbit chess and not the bullet chess for some reason. So why on earth don't you take your time and think about all of the possible variations to come? Let me know in the comments what your approach is and why you think he's playing that fast. It's really curious for me to know, because I don't understand why on earth do you play rabbit and then don't use the time that you're given. Okay, I have here h4, h5 idea crossing my mind. Yes, my queen is a little bit weird here. I have to somehow bring it back to safety. But right now there is absolutely no way for him to attack me. Maybe bishop f8, bishop g7. But even there I have queen h7. I can start with queen h7. Yeah, by the way, queen h7 is a great move, because it's also attacking the pawn. That is why I ask you to always start with a check, because if you miss it, you might miss some golden opportunity. Here I'm just winning another pawn, and then the h-pawn will have no opponent here along the h-file, as well as no pawn stopping it along the g-file as well. So now, basically, my plan can be just play h4, h5, h6, h7, and h8. And I'm not sure my opponent has any way to stop it. He can play, well, his only idea can be to create some counterplay on the queen side, but I don't see any way to do it, because my rook conveniently covers here the a file. Queen a5 is not a problem. Even if it would be possible, there is bishop d2 just covering everything here. Yeah, bishop c6, okay, it's a great bishop, but still you need some threats. Just having great pieces in case you're a lot of material down doesn't help. You need very concrete threats. Meanwhile, I can just push my pawn and let my opponent figure out whether he has even one move, even one threat to create against me. Because if not, I'm gonna promote another queen. That would be something here. I don't really need, like, I always tell you the development is the key in chess. You always need to develop all of your pieces. And how I just don't care about the development, because sometimes it's enough for you that you have a very solid pawn structure, and that the main thing is that your opponent cannot create any dangerous threats for you. And then it's enough. I can just focus on my attack and, yeah, let him decide how he's gonna deal with it. Right now, it seems like he wants to exchange the queens, which is great for me. As soon as I exchange the queens, I make it so much easier for me to convert my advantage, because no attacking ideas are possible for black, no checkmate, nothing at all. And it's just a technical position of me converting my material advantage, which is of course great. So I'm gonna just take it. And now I want to exchange this bishop here. Bishop g2 is not possible because I have rook g1. So I want to play bishop f3, just exchange. In general, my task is to exchange everything that moves, because it's like a players on a football pitch. If you have 11 players against 10, yes, you have an advantage. But if you have like 2 against 1, or better, 1 against 0, then you're gonna score all of those goals very fast and very easy. So that is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to exchange as much stuff as possible here to simplify my task. And also the bishop on c6 is basically the most active piece that black has, so changing my passive bishop for its active feels very great. Then the next step is to play bishop d2, free my knight from the pin, attack the b5 pawn, and when he protects it. By the way, it's not simple to protect it because a6 doesn't really help because of this pin here along the a file. If you protect with the rook, then the a7 pawn is going to be hanging. So bishop d2 basically threatens to win a pawn here. But otherwise, my idea was just to play bishop d2 and then knight d4, activating my knight, as well as offering another trade. And if not, he has to go back, which is also great for me. And maybe I want to put the second rook here to g-file because, well, I'm not done with my idea of promoting the pawn. I have a passer, so I want to use it. That is the idea behind having the passer. You always try to use it, to push it. Well, the way to use it is to push it and promote into a queen, or at least to deflect from your opponent. Sometimes you really need just to deflect your opponent's attention with this passer. That is a perfect way to do that. Meanwhile, you're doing something very important on the other side of the board, and he doesn't have enough resources to both stop the pawn as well as to deal with other threats. Okay, knight goes to b6. I'm going to continue my plan because, well, sooner or later you still come to the same base idea of developing the pieces. Development is always a key. Sooner or later it matters a lot. I mean, you cannot just play with one of your pawns and hope it's going to work. Yes, it could have worked for me if he wouldn't have exchanged the queens, because I had this queen, very powerful piece there, guarding all of the squares around. But he exchanged it, and now I really need to bring all of my forces into the game to make use of my extra material. Do I take with a bishop or with a knight? If I take with a bishop, he might have some ideas like b4, but actually I always have e4. From an aesthetical point of view, I really want to take with the pawn. Then all of my pawns are together in the center. Yes, he has a passer here, but I mean, it's not dangerous enough. Although my bishop is kind of passive. But my idea was to continue with e4 and then make my bishop active again. Yeah, let me go for it. I really like that from a strategy perspective. So you normally take with the pawn towards the center. That helps you to be stronger in the center, but sometimes you have to be careful with those side passers, of course. Yeah, knight a4 is not dangerous for me because the pawn is protected. I don't see any threats. I guess he played it to free his rook so it can move. But, well, you remember my idea. It was to relocate the rook all the way here and come back to my idea of promoting a pawn. Although it's not that simple to make possible because he's going to play just king h7. What is my next step? I guess to double the rooks along the g file. That would be really great. as well as play e4, of course, to cover that h6 square, and in general to improve my bishop's activity. And now my opponent starts thinking. I mean, that is hilarious. When you have a very good position and you really need to think, you're not doing it. But then when it's too late and you have still plenty of time, then you start to think. It's better to do it the other way around and start thinking when it really matters, when it's really not too late. Okay, I like the move e4 because it's gonna open more stuff for me. This bishop is very active and this pawn covers the f5 square, and I still have this rook g1. So that is kind of an advanced tip. If you have a check opportunity which doesn't go anywhere away out of you, you just maintain this threat and you maintain it for the future. They say the threat is stronger than the execution. That is a very good example of that, because I'm playing e4, I'm improving my position, and I'm keeping in mind that I can still play rook g1. That is making it more difficult for my opponent to handle, because he doesn't know where the check is coming, whether it's dangerous. He has to calculate it every move. So yes, when I think about my moves, I always start with a check because that is the most active move. Maybe I have a check and then another check and then it's checkmate, so I have to start with it. But it doesn't necessarily mean I have to make it immediately. So, well, now I don't see any reason not to give this check because I want to continue my development. Basically, the rook on a1 wasn't doing anything because of that bishop, that knight on a4. On g1, however, it's controlling an open file, very strong one, and also, of course, I'm still continuing my plan with h-pawn. Now, after king h7, I can actually play h6 and threaten the move rook g7 check. Then he must play rook g8 to stop that because it's just too dangerous of an idea to handle. And then we are exchanging the rooks, but yeah. Then my second rook slides to g5, and once again rook g7 is coming, and that is huge. He plays king f8, but that allows me to continue my plan, and I can actually promote my pawn here. I don't see how he can stop it. So right now rook g8 is a huge threat, so he has basically to play rook h8, but then I can just play rook g8, exchange it, then bring my second rook and play rook g8 again. That is very simple, very straightforward. So back to the initial question of the video, how to play a great game of chess. Well, first you need to develop all of your pieces, thinking about the center, not blundering anything in the process. By the way, my opponent failed with this task because he blundered this queen f3 idea in the process. And that was very surprising for me because he was thinking literally so fast, not even considering his options, my options. I was 100% sure that he knows what he is doing, but he was just implementing the bad moves very fast. I'm not sure what kind of strategy that is. But for me, developing the pieces, and then once I'm done with that, creating threats for my opponent. I actually started to create threats even before I developed all of my pieces, but that worked because that was very active, and I actually combined developing my pieces with creating a threat, because queen f3 was developing the queen and at the same time creating a double threat. So that is the best case scenario when you combine developing and creating threats. So the next step of the strategy is to create as many threats for your opponent as possible, because your main task in chess is to make your opponent's life as miserable as possible. And that is exactly what creating threats does, because it's difficult to handle it. It's difficult to understand, first of all of the threats, and then find a way to deal with it. And if you create a new threat with your every move, then you make the task of playing a solid chess game of your opponent incredibly tough. And that is how great players work and win the game against low-rated players. They constantly put pressure on them until the low-rated players are collapsing. Because, well, the chess is a drawish game. No matter how strong you're playing, if your opponent is doing everything absolutely correctly, that would be a draw. I mean, if you also do everything absolutely correctly. But if you create that pressure, if you create those threats, you're making this task of playing a correct game for your opponent much more difficult. On the other hand, if you are just playing on your side of the board and are saying, I don't care what my opponent is doing, I'm going to play here, develop all of my pieces, but not that actively, I don't know, whatever, then it's also simpler for your opponent to play on his side of the board, and the probability that he's gonna make a mistake decreases hugely. So I hope you get my point. Here I'm creating yet another thread, rook g8, and basically he has no option other than just give this knight up, knight f7, and I'm gonna just take it. Okay, well, he actually creates a counterplay. That is a very important concept in chess, maybe one of the most important. You always have to have some counterplay. If you don't have it, you have absolutely zero chances to handle your opponent's threats, because he's gonna go after you, no matter slowly or fast, he is gonna come after you. And then if you don't have anything against him, then he's gonna just keep punching and punching you until he's gonna get to you. But if you have this counter threat, then maybe, yes, he's going on with his plan, but meanwhile, you're gonna create something really, really dangerous against him that's gonna work. But this counterplay, I'm afraid it's just too slow and too weak, because, if it would be a2 right now, then maybe, yeah, maybe it would be interesting, because at least he gets to create a queen, although the queen still has no check, so I can still play rook g2, rook g8 and h8, and then I'm gonna be the first one to deliver a check, and usually the first one to deliver a check delivers a checkmate. In this case, I have even one more tempo, so I can just play rook b. Of course, I can play bishop c1, attack the pawn, a2, bishop b2, and bishop a1 after knight a4, if I need that, and then the pawn is absolutely stopped. But I guess I'm in the driver's seat, I'm attacking here, so I can just ignore my opponent's counterplay, and I'm pretty sure the checkmate should be there. Even if not, I can just take the queen, promote the queen, take the knight, and I'm gonna have a rook and bishop up. That is more than enough. But let's try to figure out checkmate. So I have queen f8 check, I have queen a8 check, queen a8 checkmate. Please, if you see the checkmate faster than I do here, write in the comments, because there should be a checkmate in a few moves, I'm pretty sure. So queen a8, king d6, rook takes b6, there is king c7, queen d8, king d8, rook g6, king e7, no, the king escapes. I do like that I'm winning the knight, but I want to calculate it till the checkmate. So rook b6, queen c7, maybe queen c6, goes to d8, then rook check, king e7, and queen c7 checkmate. Okay, that works. That works. Of course, notice central pawns are always great. In this case, they even help me to deliver a checkmate, because they are controlling so many squares here. Queen c6, I guess that is what I said. Yeah, and now rook b8 and queen c7. And those black pawns don't really allow him to hide with the king. I guess, yeah, now it's time for a checkmate. I hope you enjoyed this game. I hope you have learned so much throughout it, because you specifically asked me how to beat the low-rated opponent. I created this video for you, so hit the like button if you enjoyed it, and in this video you're gonna see another incredible game where I show you step by step my decision-making process, and that game is probably the most instructive one I have ever played live.